So today I'm going to cover a prophecy that's not in our current Bible. Okay, it's the prophecy of the eagle. It's from the book of 2nd Ezra, and Ezra's in our Bible. He was one of the people that returned from Babylon to help rebuild Jerusalem and the temple. So we know Ezra's a real person, and we know that God spoke with Ezra, and he was a prophet. We just don't know if this particular book was really written by him or not. Now, the book of 2nd Ezra was in the original King James Bible, and it was in the Geneva Bible that was pre-King James. So the first two Bibles that were ever made and printed had the book of 2nd Ezra. Then, a couple hundred years later, at some point, a bunch of church leaders sat down, and they yanked 10 books out of the center of the Bible. This is called the Apocrypha. So they pulled these 10 books out for their own political and belief reasons, and they couldn't validate them, and they just decided we're going to take out from the Old Testament and the New Testament, the center section of books, 10 books, we're just going to pull those out. So that's what they did. They ripped out 10 books out of the Bible. So I don't know if the book of 2nd Ezra is really written by Ezra, but here's how we'll know. If this prophecy comes true, and it's happening right now, then we know that it's truly the Word of God because it was written 2,600 years ago. So here's basically what it says. It says that a giant eagle will come up out of the sea, and it will be a powerful nation, and it will rule over the whole earth. And later when God is describing to Ezra what the eagle is, he explains that it is another image of the fourth beast that Daniel saw. Okay, of the end times empire. So this eagle has 3 heads and it has many wings. It describes them as wings or feathers, but we're just going to call them wings for simplicity because that's how it's written in the book. So each wing that it describes is a leader. And it basically says that there's 14 of these wings on one side and 6 on the other. Okay. So on these 14 wings, it says that the second feather, the second ruler out of the 14, is a very long feather or long wing. And it says it rules more than twice as long as any of the other ones. But before its rule ends, inside the gut of the eagle, it says, after you, no one else shall rule as long as you do, not even half as long. Okay, so this we can probably figure out. There was only one president that had 4 terms. Okay, that was Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And in his last term, they came up with a new amendment that said presidents were only allowed 2 terms. So no one else could be a 4-term president. There are only 2-term presidents. Okay, so when we're going up the wings, we can say, okay, that one has to be Roosevelt, which means the last wing on this side is Obama. It also says that out of those 14 wings, there was one long wing, there were regular wings, and then there were 2 short wings. And he describes the 2 short wings as leaders that were taken out early and unexpectedly. Their rules ended unexpectedly and quick. Okay, so you got 14, you got 1 long wing, and you got 2 short wings, which are Kennedy's assassination and Nixon's leaving office in disgrace. Okay, him leaving the presidency. Okay, so that's very interesting because it's a prophecy about leaders, and if we analogate it to our presidents and assume that we are the most powerful nation right now towards the end times, that it makes a lot of sense that it described this. It didn't say exactly what order the 2 were taken out in. It just says in the middle of those, which again, Nixon and Kennedy were in the middle of those 14 presidents. So right now we're tracking good, okay? We're on the money with these leaders and the wings and the description. It all matches up with our U.S. presidential history. Now here's where we get into crazy land. So now that we're off this wing, we got 6 wings over here. Okay, we've already had the 2 first of these wings, which was Trump's first term and Biden's second term. And it says they're short wings, and all these 6 wings over here are short. And that's because that means their terms were, for some reason, cut shorter than they should have been. So again, we can say that Trump didn't get a second term in office. We don't know if that was legit or not. Don't get into it, just go with it. And then Biden, we can say that he may finish his term, but he's not really been in charge for a while. I mean, he had his wife do his last presidential cabinet, and he hasn't done a presidential cabinet this year, except for this one that he let his wife lead. So grandpa ain't all there, and he's not really in charge. Okay, so that leaves 4 wings, and it says 2 wings move over this side under this 3 heads, and 2 wings are over here. Okay, so we got 2 wings and 2 wings and 3 heads. Tracking with me? Okay, so now I'm going to read to you where we're at right now in this election cycle. And it says, while I continued to look, the 2 wings that remained were planning between themselves to reign together. And while they were planning, one of the heads at rest, the one that was in the middle, suddenly awoke. It was greater than the other 2 heads. And I saw how it allied the 2 heads with itself, and how the head turned with those that were with it and devoured the 2 little wings that were planning to reign. Okay, so 3 leaders suddenly wake up. They see these other 2 that are planning on working together and taking charge, and they all plan together and they devour these 2. I don't know what devour means. I'm wondering if it means that they killed these 2 leaders. That's my assumption, but I could be wrong. But these 2 leaders are devoured, and the 3 heads set up rule. Okay, and then what happens to the 3 heads is the 3 heads are the ones that they overwhelm the earth and treat it with much oppression. And the first one dies in agony in their bed before their term runs out. The second one takes charge, and they're in charge for a little bit, and the third one kills them. Then the third one dies by the sword, which means dies by war, and then that's the end of the tribulation, and the other 2 are left for it says the other 2 are left for the end, or I guess the wrap up of the tribulation, and they have a very tumultuous reign. So I don't know what all this means. I'm just giving you what this prophecy states. So what we have to do is we have to sit and wait and see, do 2 presidential candidates get devoured by the more powerful? Are they taken out? Are they killed? And I could think of a lot of different things, but we already had multiple assassination attempts on one of the candidates. So again, I'm curious to see if an assassination takes place that takes out 2 presidential candidates. If it does, then we know 100% this second Ezra is real and prophetic, and we're in for some wild times. Now, why am I bringing this crazy prophecy to you? Here's the reason why. I have to get this prophecy out before anything happens, because when something happens and somebody comes out and says, hey, I read this and it matches, it has no power almost, because everyone sits there and goes, oh, you're just bending what it says in this book that's not true to match what just happened, and we don't believe you. If you come out and say something's going to happen ahead of time, and then it happens, and people go back and say, how do you know it was going to happen? Oh, it's in the book, let's go read it. People have buy-in. If you read a prophecy and then the prophecy's fulfilled, then you have legitimacy. That's the whole point of the prophets. The prophets they say a prophecy, and then it comes true, and that proves that they're truly a prophet of God. I'm not a prophet. I'm reading prophecy, okay? I'm just interpreting and bringing it to you. So again, this is something that's probably going to happen, if not right before the election, right after the election, I'm assuming. We're just going to have to wait and see. But the 2 wings getting devoured, I'm assuming happens before the election. But again, it could happen before if they win and they're going to take office, and then they get assassinated before they take office on January 21st of 2025, then the prophecy still is fulfilled to its current position. So Anyway, maybe a lot of nothing. Maybe no one will ever watch this video and it won't matter, but maybe this video will actually prove to be true, and I hope it isn't, but if it is, then that's very amazing and interesting that Second Ezra is a true prophetic book. So, hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. And as always, God bless you. Let you be salt and light in everyone's lives. And, you know, I learned a question that I think I'm going to end with now. If you died today and were standing in front of God at the gates of heaven, what would you tell him if he asked you, why should I let you in? So I want you, the viewer, to think about that. But I'll have the answer in a later video. But if you were to die today and go before God, and he said, why should I let you into my heaven? What would you tell him?